lifestyle. Sports cards and we live now. Jeremy Lee in the building and every guest that you ever needed. Sports cards after hours keep the hobby heated. Updates, hobby talk like you never seen it. Sports cards live and none could ever beat it. Sports cards is a lifestyle. Sports cards and we live now. Welcome to another episode of Sports Cards Live with your host, Jeremy Lee.
All right, welcome everybody to the weekly PWCC Hockey Auction Ending Watch Party. Today is July the 9th, 2023. My name is Jeremy Lee. I want to thank everybody for joining. If you're not yet subscribed to the Sports Cards Live YouTube channel, the Hockey Cards Gongshow YouTube channel, or either of our podcasts, please take a moment and do so. Let's bring out our co-host for the night, Josh Madigan. Josh, welcome back after a weekend off. How have you been keeping?
I'm doing awesome. Great to be back. Did watch last week's show, and Seth did a great job. So I want to commend him for filling in very admirably.
He did do a great job. It was great to have him, and I'm now more comfortable if and when you need to take a night off. We have at least one person who can fill in, and he did do a great job. So thanks again to Seth for joining last week. Josh, we have 185 items up for bid on the PWCC weekly auction in the hockey category. We have selected 40 of those items to look at this evening. So, I mean, unless you have any opening comments on the auction in general, anything you'd like to say, I'm ready to get started. How about you?
No, let's get going. Let's look at some fun cards.
All right, let's get right into it. So we're going to start right off. We're going to go in order of chronologically oldest to newest. And we're going to start right off with what is a pretty cool card. This one right here. This is the 1911 C55 Art Ross card. Now, not his rookie card, not his first year card. It's actually his third card because in the C56 series from 1910, he has two cards in that one set. That is a 36 card set. He's got cards number 8 and 12, but he has this card as well in the subsequent year, 1911. For me, this is my favorite tobacco era card that he has. I love the looks of this card. This particular copy here is a PSA 4.5 VGX plus. It's also been given the PWCC eye appeal rating of A for above average. Josh, I think we should take a look at this because I do love this. I do love the card, and I own a copy myself. I'm working on this series. I think mine is a 5, a PSA 5, a really nice copy. But let's take a look at this one. It's in a very new slab, meaning this is, among the more recently graded cards by PSA. And the first thing I notice is the centering, top to bottom. It's off. It's high on the card, which is so common for these. Just centering is always tough on these. But look at that side-to-side centering. It is wonderful. It's amazing centering side to side. If we look past that, I'm noticing some surface issues. Look at his hair, very light. Looks like there's some surface wear in the background here. You can see some snow effect. There's sort of a white spot right there. You can sort of see it up in the corners as well. Top edge, not perfect, but I don't have an issue with the grade of this card. You've got a bit of a scratch coming through here, but this, I believe, is on the holder because you can see it coming past. I think that's the case. As we scroll down the card, bottom right corner, definite issue. That would be like almost, I don't know if it's paper loss or gloss loss, but it's definitely loss of some sort. You can see more of the surface wear along the bottom here. Bottom left corner has a bit of an issue there. The bottom edge is kind of how you'd expect it to be. The side edges look really nice, though. So overall, again, I don't have an issue with the grade. As far as the PWCC eye appeal ranking or designation as an A for above average, putting in the top 30%, I don't think I have an issue with that. The card does present nice, and centering is so tough on these, Josh, regardless of the player, the condition. So the fact that this has such nice side-to-side centering, I think makes it a very special card. We also have the Riley Hearn from the same year. This isn't a 5. So let's open this one and just sort of compare the top to bottom centering, because this one has the same issue, but it's lower on the card. The bottom border is even narrower than the top border was here on the Art Ross, but not by much. And the top border, again, thicker. Side to side, though, not as nice as the Art Ross was. This one's sitting a little bit to the right. Corners wise, that corner, what you'd expect for a 5, a little bit of loss there. Same with the top right. Top edge looks nice. It's a rough cut, but it looks nice. Edges on the sides look good, nice and sharp. You've got this issue right here, which to me, that's something that would bother me. Bottom left corner, rounded, not too bad. Bottom right corner, same thing. I think for me, Josh, the biggest drawback on this card is this thing right here on the edge. Now, again, when we're zoomed in, you can really see it. When you zoom out and you hold the card like that, it's not as bad. It's not as pronounced because, again, obviously we're not zooming, but it's definitely something to consider if you are looking at this card. Also a recent grading by PSA, and this one has been given a 5. Riley Hearn, one of the, not a top tier card from the set, but also not a bottom tier card from the set, in my opinion. Let's get your thoughts on these C55, Josh, before we skip all the way from 1911 to 1970. We're about to take a 60-year jump here.
There you go. I love the C55 set. It is one of my absolute favorite. I think it's one of the more iconic set designs, even for how old it is. It is just great. We profiled both of those cards on our show last week. The Art Ross, I think, is automatically intriguing for any hockey fan because he's, of course, the namesake of the Art Ross Trophy, which is awarded to the player each year with the most points in the NHL. And when doing our research and trying to get to know who he was as a player and then later a coach and GM, what really stands out about Art Ross, at first as a player, is number one, he was one of those guys that his playing career really ended as the NHL started. He mainly played in the NHA precursor, but he had one NHL goal in his career. So on one hand, it's a little funny that the guy who the most points trophy is named after has one NHL career goal. And I think the other thing that's kind of interesting about that too is he was also a defenseman. So the Art Ross Trophy is named after a defenseman who scored one goal in their career. Beyond that, another thing that we found interesting is there he's in his Montreal Wanderers sweater. And as you see the W in how their jersey design is in a crest that looks very much like the modern NHL crest. And I'm not a historian or don't know, but it makes me wonder if there's some sort of tie-in there from how the NHL logo turned out and the crest that the Montreal Wanderers sweater is in. So a great card. Love it. And then as you compare it to the Riley Hearn, I think, Jeremy, this is a classic example of buy the card, not the grade. And I prefer, actually, the Art Ross at a PSA 4.5 versus the Riley Hearn, the quality of the card and the condition of the card at a PSA 5. And maybe it's just my tolerance or what distracts me or bothers me about cards. But I would actually, just on condition alone, probably choose the Art Ross. And to us, what really stood out about Riley Hearn was that he was a goalie. And how would you ever tell if a player was a goalie back in the 1911 C55 set? There's literally no clue. It kind of makes me wonder, like, if they had any pads whatsoever.
Yeah.
But I think they did shoot the puck probably at that more on the ice on that stage of the game. So but love the cards.
So, okay, I just want to clarify. Did you have a question for me and all that? Because I was also a little distracted. So, was there something you wanted me to speak to the condition of these two cards?
No, I was just saying that I prefer the condition of the Art Ross at a 4.5 over the Riley Hearn at a PSA 5. If I had to choose a card just based on condition, I would pick not the higher number. I think for my taste that the Art Ross is a better condition card.
Yeah,
but I'm also not an expert grader,
so yeah, and it's a great comparison here between these two cards. So I like the overall presentation of the Art Ross better because when I look at this card, that side to side centering, it just frames the card nicely. We do have a question. Larry says, why the premium on side to side versus top to bottom? And I mean, Larry, I don't know that there's a premium. My preference though is the off center to be vertical versus horizontal, and that's the case here on the Art Ross. But I mean, to me, this looks really good because the side to side looks good. When you flash over to this one, all of a sudden that side to side, the card just looks a little bit more lopsided, even though, the vertical centering is almost the same issue, but side to side, you've got that much narrower border on the right than you do on the left. So for me, I'm with you, Josh. I prefer the eye appeal of this card over this one. The other thing is with this card, you've got this blemish here on the bottom right of the right border, whereas on this card, you've got the corner here issue here where there's like some loss, some surface loss there. So to me, those almost balance each other out. And for that reason, I like the Art Ross better. But again, overall eye appeal, I like the Art Ross as well better than the Riley Hearn, despite the fact that technically PSA gave this a 5, and technically they gave this a 4.5. I like the lower graded card better, just like you do, Josh.
And PSA may be right in doing so. I'm not challenging their grade. I'm just saying, as a collector, I would prefer the Art Ross over the Riley Hearn because I'm not a professional grader, so I'm not qualified to make that determination.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you on that for sure. Okay. Yeah, nonetheless, two really good cards here because it's tough to find these anyway. And I know I've been working on the C55 set for 15 years now, and I'm still about 10 cards short. Now I'm doing PSA 5s and up, but I'm actually now thinking to myself, I don't need to do 5s and up. If I see a really nice 4, I'm going to add it to my collection because I'm moving away. I've moved away from being that kind of tied to a grading company's grade. I'm now more about the card itself. So 1970, O-Pee-Chee Gilbert-Perreault, one of the toughest Hall of Fame hockey rookies to find centered. Here we're talking about centering again. This card is notorious for bad centering. This is a PSA 6. And looking at it from here, I mean, this is a nice copy, Josh. Yes, side to side, the centering is off. Again, it's a 6, so that shouldn't shock anybody. But I'm looking, without zooming, I'm looking at the edges and corners. And even the surface looks good. But that top edge, that top corner looks really good for a 6. The top edge looks great. Top right corner looks great. Right edge, nice, and that's that rough cut, which I call the nice rough O-Pee-Chee cut. Bottom right corner looks really good. A little bit of fray there, but I don't worry about fray too much. Bottom edge looks great. Bottom left corner looks great. Left edge looks good. A little nick there, but that's nothing. That's, again, we're zoomed in. You zoom out, you probably don't even see. No, you can't even see that when you zoom out. I almost wonder why it's graded a 6 and not a 7. Makes me think there must be something in the surface. There might be some surface wear or light print. Like, look at the words Buffalo Sabres. They've got that snow effect. I believe that you could find copies with a darker, a more solid printing of the words Buffalo and Sabres. I'm also noticing here in Gill and, Gill short for Gilbert, I'm noticing some, I think that's on the card. I don't think that would be on the slab. Some issues here, especially on the R's. So that must be surface wear. Maybe that's what's bringing down the grade, is some surface issues down there. But look, I mean, the most important part of the card being his head is really clean. I mean, this seems like a good. I don't know, but I want to see if PWCC gave this an eye appeal rating, because I wouldn't be surprised if they did. They didn't. So from what I can see, and listen, I'm not saying they're wrong not giving it an eye appeal designation here, Josh, but I wouldn't have been surprised if they did. Again, we can't hold the cards and look at them in all different angles and shine the light to see what other flaws are. Eye appeal wise for a 6, I really like this Gilbert-Perreault. Comments from you?
The only other thing I saw is if you look at the left edge, there appears to be a little bit of tilt in the card. I think it's thinner at the top than it is going down.
Yeah, you see it on the right too. Yeah, I see that as well. And to me, it's a 6. It's a 6. The centering. If that was straighter, I'd like it even more. But I still don't mind it for the grade. Now that you point that out, if this was a 7, I'd like it less because of the tilt, which you point. And I didn't even notice it at first. Now that you mention it, yeah, I definitely see that there. So yeah, good call out there on the tilt for sure. Let's go to the next row, and then we'll go to comments. We haven't addressed any real comments yet since starting the show. We have an SGC 9, Ken Dryden, 1971 O-Pee-Chee rookie. And this copy looks really good. I mean, that side-to-side centering, and I always look the border right here and the border right there. I think it's, if it's not perfect, it's off by 0.5% either way. top edge and corners, side edges, bottom. I mean, this looks really good. Really good. I did notice you got a fisheye right here on the blue outline. A small one over here, can hardly see it. So that one bothers me, but it wouldn't stop me from adding this to my collection. Come across the left and up the side. Small fisheye right there, hidden behind his pad. I wouldn't worry about that as a buyer of this card. Yeah, this is a really nice copy. A really nice copy, actually. Yeah, what do you think of this one, Josh?
Oh, I love it. Would this make your top 5 iconic goalie cards of all time?
Oh, no. I mean, for me, if we're counting George Vezina and we're counting, of course, Jacques Plante would be up there for me. Is Ken Dryden the other one? Maybe.
I'm saying top 5. So you'd have maybe Yeah. This is my favorite set design of all time. I love the it's just so iconic. To me it's the most emblematic of the time in pop culture and history and the era. It just speaks directly to that time, and I'll forever love this set.
Yeah, I love the font here, the bubble font for the team name across the top. Now, PWCC did not give it an eye appeal designation. It is a 9, so it would be tough to get one, but I think it's a really great copy. That one fisheye right here, though, I can understand. Maybe that held it back. There could be other reasons that we're just not seeing. We have a 79 Sportscaster, Wayne Gretzky. Now, this is a card. I don't even consider it a card. It's like a bigger thing. It's even bigger than a postcard. Some people love it. Myself, personally, no interest in it for myself. I would not add one to my collection. At least I don't think I would. Not right now. I've seen some Sportscasters. I've had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Muhammad Ali. Like, they come from all sports, and I just think that it's pretty cool. But a lot of collectors like it a lot more than I do. So anyway, I wanted to shine a light on it because it is a high grade as an 8. It's from Italy, and but look at the holder. You can tell that it's about 2.5 times as wide. Like, this holder is like 2.5 times as wide as a regular PSA slab would be, which gives you an idea of just how big this thing is. They don't fit with your other cards. Nonetheless, some people consider this, because of the year, to be like his pre-rookie card, almost the MJ Star 101 rookie card type of thing, except again that it's bigger. So not something that I'm personally interested in, but so many people are that it's worth looking at. And it's a cool shot actually of Wayne Gretzky here. What's the next item is a rookie. So Josh, let's just get your thoughts on the Sportcaster.
Really appreciate it. I think it's unique in the slab, where it's 1977 through 1979. I can't think of another example where I've seen that on a slab before. The way I look at this is I appreciate what these are. Troy and I think Troy did a deep dive on these on one of our episodes. And it's one of those things where I appreciate, it's just not for me.
Yeah, fair. Totally fair. And I'm with you on that. Okay, let's go to the O-Pee-Chee. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Let's open this up this way. So this is a PSA 8 O-Pee-Chee Gretzky rookie. Now, in the vintage premiere, they had a PSA 8 that sold for, I think it sold final with buyer's premium. I think it finished at $12,000, so 10 plus buyer's premium. This one's already at $15,000 or $14,000 with the buyer's. No, that's at $15,000 with the buyer's premium, which just shows that a strong card will sell for more. But let's see how we weigh in. I haven't looked at this copy closely yet. The first thing that does stand out to me from a negative perspective is the registration. You can see the oil drop is situated pretty high up in its pocket to the point where it's peeking out of the top here. So, the magenta plate was placed high on the print run. You can see right here, the word Oilers is actually higher up on the plane than the word Edmonton. Usually, Josh, we see it with the word Oilers lower, but in this case, it's higher. The top edge, love it. The beautiful O-Pee-Chee rough cut. Top corners look the same. The left edge has the rough cut. It's a pretty aggressive rough cut. Not as aggressive as the one we saw on Thursday, but it's still pretty aggressive. Right edge looks nice and clean. Simple O-P cut. Bottom looks good. Bottom corners look good. I mean, zoom in right here. You can see you've got that very rough O-Pee-Chee cut. You know, this is right on the cusp of what I'm happy with, what I would be happy with. This is a nicer copy than the one that was sold. For me, this is a nicer copy than the one that was sold on Thursday. The centering is, I mean, it's wonderful. If you are a centering snob, I don't know if you can find a better centered Gretzky rookie than this one. I mean, I'm not seeing any tilt. Left to right, those borders look to be matched up perfectly. Perfect. Bottom to top, same thing. I mean, this is a very, very nice copy. Outside of registration, this is a great copy. PWCC gave it the superior, so top 5%. I think that's fine. I might have leaned a bit more towards the top 15% for exceptional, simply because of the registration issue. But the centering is so good. I'm not going to like say this isn't a case where I strongly disagree, where I vehemently disagree with the eye appeal rating. So I think it's a great copy overall. And how about you, Josh? What do you think?
Would you mind zooming in again? I have a question for you about that left edge. Yeah. So to me, and this is one of the things that I just maybe haven't completely formulated my opinion around, but I wonder if, so in a rough cut, right? I get and I appreciate, and I actually like the rough cut too. But I feel like that the wear is going in to the border. To me, this looks more like edge damage than where you would have the fraying going away from the card in a more of a rough cut. Am I off base in saying that? Or
I think you're right, but I think that's been accepted by the hobby and by PSA. Is that but you're right. I mean, some of these indentations come into where you'd expect it to be blue, but that's a result of the cutting, not of damage after it got pulled out of the pack. Sure. In my opinion, I did see a comment here from, I think it was Hobby Champs, right here, says the left edge on the Gilbert looks trimmed, completely different cut than the other three edges. So that to me is not a sign of any wrongdoing or trimming. The edges did wear at different rates. The cutters, the various blades wore at different rates for whatever reason. So even if you look at this card, Hobby Champs, notice that left edge is the worst of all three, like by far. So using that same logic, on the Perot, where's the Perot? Right over here. The left edge does look cleaner than the top edge, the right edge, and maybe even the bottom edge. But I'm not willing to say that means it's trimmed. I just can't agree with that. It's not a perfect edge either. Like, you can tell that it's still got some rough cut to it. If you were trimming this card, would you put that little ding in there right there? I don't think you would, not if you're sending in for grading. I don't think this card is trimmed, but I'm not an expert at detecting trimmed cards unless it's like blatant. The other thing I would consider is how much this card fills in the holder. And there's really you see a little bit of room up there, but no room up there. So it's in here lopsided, but I don't think it's trimmed personally. I'm not saying it isn't. I just don't think it is myself. All right, let's close those ones up. Go back here, and we'll just sit here for a moment. 3 more Gretzkys, and go to some comments from the beginning. Good evening, Facebook user. Craig's Cards in the house. Jake Dahl in the house. Gerald Fortier in the house. We'll see you in a couple weeks, buddy. Name, always good to see you. Jeff McMahon says, great show with Rob. Thank you. Yes, I was on the Sports Card Therapist earlier today. Thank you, Jeff. B. Roy, love the shadow of his hand and stick across his body. That's so long ago. Sorry, I don't remember what card that is. Probably one of the C56s. We answered Larry. Snyder says, I really have a question for you. I defended your tag shirt situation, but I really want to know where you stand on I don't know what the SCR reporting model is. Sorry, Dave. I just don't know what that is. I said, yes, this card is a nice looking Hearn card. Says the Ross high cut and the Hearn low cut. Yeah, that's right, Dave Snyder. Color on both are very nice. Said, went on to say the Gilbert Perot is awesome for the money. He says, I believe that is a sheet edge. I don't know about that. I don't think so. It didn't look that smooth to me, but that's something to consider too, Josh. Sometimes, one of the edges is the edge of the sheet. So good call out there by Dave Snyder. Hobby Champ says, can we discuss how Hasek is undoubtedly and unequivocally the greatest goalie to ever play the game of hockey? And we can discuss it, but I just agree with you on that. And his cards are from the junk wax era, so that's why. But I'm with you. He's definitely one of my favorite, or I think he's the best goalie of all time. Troy Iverson, we know Troy, says the 1983 O-Pee-Chee Pelly Lindbergh is the best goalie card ever. And Hobby Champs likes the PWCC hockey selection over some of the competitors. And Dave Snyder says Hasek is junk wax. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yep.
Dave Snyder. Okay, so we have the SGC Tops. It's a 5.5 Wayne Gretzky rookie. Let's take a quick look at this one, Josh. Now this one has tilt. It's off center. Oh yeah, this is just ugly overall. I mean, this might be one of those cards that's also diamond cut. I believe it might be diamond cut. I believe it might be. So where diamond cut being you don't have a perfect rectangular card, you have more of a parallelogram. But yeah, this is it isn't a 5.5 holder, so I'm not going to dispute the grade, but from an eye appeal perspective, this for a card that doesn't have any significant surface wear damage, it's got nice corners and edges, but just the way this image sits on the cardboard and the way it's cut, this is about as bad as you can get for a card that is otherwise pretty darn nice, but just the way that the image sits on the cardboard, this can almost make you dizzy. I think this has to be diamond cut. I think it's diamond cut, meaning it wouldn't even fit in some holders because it would come out into the border. Josh, I mean, you look at this, I mean, it almost makes you dizzy. What do you think?
I agree with you. That's distracting. It's a shame too, because the coloring in this card is so nice.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just a scan or what, but that really stands out to me. And it makes me sad that it's so kittywampus as far as how it's tilted or standing in there, because if it was a little bit more centered and straight and printed straight on, it could be just a beautiful card.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's almost too bad that it was on an angle. The sheets were on an angle when the print presses came down. We have a 1983 Gretzky, a PSA 10. This is one of my favorite Gretzky base cards from the 80s. Josh, I love the pose. He's about to take a face-off, or he's waiting for a face-off to be taken. I love the 83 set. I remember building this as a youngster. A wonderful card, awesome image, and attractive for people doing the Gretzky run like myself. I have a copy already in this grade, so I don't need to add this one. But let's take a quick look at it just to be thorough. Centering side to side looks great. Top to bottom, I think it's a little bit high, but PSA allows 60-40 centering, so definitely not outside of those boundaries or those parameters. The edges look good. The corners look good. Yeah, a nice copy. Probably not worthy of a eye appeal assessment by PWCC, which I agree with not giving it because of that top to bottom centering, but a nice copy overall. And then the next year, the 84. Do we have another one? No, we don't. An 84 Gretzky in a PSA 10 holder. One of my favorite sets from the 80s, the Yzerman rookie year. If we zoom out, centering, side to side, I think it's a little bit to the left, so not perfect. Top to bottom, I think it's a little bit high, not perfect, but again, within PSA's parameters and just standards. Thank you. Within the standards for a PSA 10 gem mint centering, and an awesome card. I love the copy that I have. Josh, over to you on these two Gretzkys.
Really big fan of the 83. A couple things that stand out to me, and I think you mentioned this, is that, well, first of all, having him in that face-off kind of crouch there, that's a really unique photo pose for a player in a card. And so, given there's so many Gretzky cards at this point, and when you include all the ones post-career, I just think it's really unique. Another thing, which is kind of maybe small, minor, and dumb, but I love in the bottom right corner the classic retro-y feeling O-Pee-Chee logo on the
Yeah.
83.
Yeah.
To me, I just that really is one thing that makes the card special. And then on the 84, I don't love the centering on the card. I understand that it's probably within PSA standards, but what really stands out to me about this card is the printing quality on the surface. Is there a single defect, even the smallest of fisheye? It just almost looks perfect to me. And so
Yeah. I
if
mean, I'm not.
that's meaningful to you as a collector, I think this would be a great copy because man, you don't see cards with this great good of printing quality often.
I'm not seeing anything. I mean, there's a little black dot right
Yeah,
there.
right
I don't know
there.
what that. I don't know what that is though. If that's on the card or not. If you know, but it's pretty small. Yeah, that's a great copy overall for sure. Josh, I need to ask you a favor if I may. I need to step away for a minute. Can you here? I'll go to the next three. Can you just talk about these for a second? I'll be right back.
Yeah,
Thank
no
you.
worries. All right. So the next cards on the list here are and I don't have the benefit of being able to control the screen, so we're just going to have to go off it. Are the 1985 O-Pee-Chee Mario Lemieux scoring leaders, his 85 rookie or tops rookie in a PSA 8, and then the O-Pee-Chee box bottoms from 85 as well. What's kind of cool about how Jeremy put these cards in a row like this is it really gives you sort of the spectrum or representation of the Lemieux rookies from the 85 season. Now, today, as we know, we get tons of rookie cards per player. So think of how many Connor Bedard rookie cards we're going to have. When you get back into the 80s, there really wasn't much of a choice. And a lot of people would, of course, argue that maybe the box bottom or the rookie scoring leaders, of course, are not true rookies or of that sort, I guess, for Lemieux. But it does give you a little variation, especially if you're a Lemieux collector. And I just love seeing all these cards right together. I'm not sure how tough the scoring leader is from a pop count perspective. I've always really liked that card. One of the things that has always stood out to me about it is it has that classic NHL logo in the upper left corner there. To me, I love that. I don't know if I'm just like a sucker for all these retro logos, or like I had on the O-Pee-Chee with the Gretzky card, just love that sort of classic NHL shield on, and to me that's what makes the card. The image of Lemieux on that to me isn't the best, although again it's one of those sort of interesting poses, but I think he gets sort of lost in, I don't know who's behind him on the card for the Islanders there, but he doesn't really stand out in the picture much. So maybe would have preferred a different photo than that, but maybe they had to find something like that where he was crouching over in order to get all of the text on the top of the card to make everything fit. And then on the 85 tops, again, most people are going to prefer the O-Pee-Chee, of course, but with the tops rookie, from what I can see and the little icon here on my screen, it looks like it's off centered from left to right and maybe a little bit from top to bottom looks bettering or better. So if you're, I would say probably pretty common with a PSA 8. It's hard to see the corners on there, but they look pretty good. And it's just going to come down to, I think, what your budget is and what your opinion or how much centering distracts you from. This is one that I would probably have a little bit of a tough time with because I really see the centering when I'm looking at cards like this. But from what I can tell, it looks like a really good copy of the card. And then on the box bottom, to me, is this really technically a hockey card? I don't know. I know that they're hand cut, of course, from the boxes. But if you think of, well, sort of favorite, like going back to these oddball kind of cards or kind of off the beaten path cards, this is probably my favorite of all time. I love the shade of yellow. It's really bold and bright that stands out from the card there. What's interesting to me too, and I just noticed this for the first time, is how they've sort of transposed the logos on the Penguins logo and kind of flip-flopped, or they're like a mirror image of each other, where you have the Penguins logo on the right with the sort of scoop indentation there, and then on the box bottom you have the Penguins logo on the left side. So to me, that's kind of interesting. Jeremy, kind of the main point I was making without being able to see the cards real close in is how you did a really nice job here in sort of putting in a row the spectrum of choices that somebody would have for a quote unquote Mario Lemieux rookie from 1985. This is about all the options that you would have. And it is kind of neat to see them right next to each other.
Yeah. We're just missing the tops, or sorry, the O-Pee-Chee version of the base, but this is the same look. So you're right. Yeah, you got the scoring leaders card, which does not have a tops counterpart, just the O-Pee-Chee version. It's a 9. I think it's a card that is one of those things that could catch fire one day. People go, oh, it's an alternative to this. If you can't afford this, maybe go for that. But it's one of those cards. It's kind of cool, I think. And again, I don't think I have one, but it's a card I've been flirting with getting one eventually. And you can get them. There's no shortage of them. So eventually I'll probably add one. This is a 9. Great for the card. The tops 8. I'm sure you pointed out the centering issue there, which is obvious. Still within an 8 grade for PSA. And I'm going to zoom in on that one quick, Josh, just to see how everything else looks on it. Edges, top right corner looks pretty good. I can't tell if it's perfect or not. Might not be. Left and right borders look good, or edges. Bottom edge looks good. Bottom corners look good. Yeah, it's really just the centering, I think, that causes this to not be graded higher, unless there's something we can't see, which is quite likely or definitely quite possible. And this is a 3. It looks really good from here, but let's zoom in and see if we can understand why. Oh, surface. Look at all the scratches through it. And that's because this was on the bottom of a box. Someone probably just took the box and pulled it towards them as it was sitting on a counter or something, or it even had some curl to it. And those might be sort of cracks in the print. You'll notice a very subtle remainder of the white border here down the side. That is what PSA requires to be present on a sheet cut, or sorry, a box bottom card, is some remnant of the box bottom itself. So that white edge is actually what allows this card to be slabbed, because I don't see it anywhere. Oh, you have it here on the left too. You see the black and a bit of the white down here. The black comes up and the white. Oh, here's where you have some real damage here, right on the surface. Some pretty, and this is even more like, this is worse than the Gretzky rookie, right? Especially coming in over here, coming up. So I think you got the black along the side here. So yeah, this is probably very appropriately graded as a 3, and not a bad copy overall for such a low grade. What is this thing sitting at price-wise right now? Still $220. I mean, that is still crazy. A healthy number for this card. All right, let's keep on going. I don't want to. You spent some time here while I was away. Yep. Thank you for covering. Here's the here's another Topps rookie. This is the 9, the PSA 9 Topps rookie. Let's open this one up for a moment. We're gonna close those. Take a look at this. Yeah, looks good. Top right corner has something going on there. I'm not sure what it is. If it's, I don't know if that's a blemish on the slab. I would doubt it. It's too conveniently located. Definitely something on the corner. I don't know if that's fray or what that is. It's really hard to tell. But the top edge looks pretty good. You're seeing just a slight roughness. Left edge looks good. Bottom left corner looks good. Bottom edge, from what you can see, looks good. Right corner looks good. Oh, what's this right here? Right here in the E. You see that? There's some surface issue there, unless it's on the slab. I don't know for certain, but I'm gonna, being conservative and say it's actually on the card. As we come scroll back up, yeah, it looks pretty good. PWCC did not give it an eye appeal rating. I wouldn't have either, so that's good to see. I think it's a think it's a like weak to average PSA 9 or mint 9 by PSA standards for this Topps card right here. Any comments on that, Josh, before we move along to these two Patrick Roys?
The only thing I just love about the Mario Lemieux rookie is all the Cooper gear and the old Cooper logo.
Sounds good.
It's on both his breezers and his gloves there.
Yeah. Okay. This is the second year Patrick Roy. Now, I love this card. I say this a lot, guys. I love a lot of cards, but I do. And I own this card. I own it in the same holder. I have a PSA 10 copy myself. And I just think it's one of the, like second year cards used to get a lot of love. They don't get as much anymore, but Patrick Roy, he's up there as a best goalie of all time with Hasek and Brodeur and, some of the older guys. And I just think it's a cool card. I just love these old school pads he's wearing and everything about it. I love the 87s anyway. So I think it's a great card, but let's just take a quick peek at it. See if the grade is appropriate in this case. And from a centering standpoint, side to side looks awesome. Top to bottom, almost perfect, but not quite. I think it's narrower up at the top than at the bottom. The top wants me to think there's a bit of tilt because it seems like it's a bit narrower here than here, but I don't know that that's the case. I'm not noticing it on the sides. So maybe not. I'm actually having trouble telling right now. Top edge, that's like a perfect O-Pee-Chee rough cut. Corners look good. The side edges both look pretty good. Bottom corners and edges look good. I think this is definitely a bit wider here than over here, but it's minor. Overall, I'm not going to dispute the grade. A very recent grading by PSA. So overall, a pretty nice card. And then so it's a 260 right now, 10 times the amount as the card from 2 years later, the 89 O-Pee-Chee, one of the most heavily printed hockey years and hockey sets ever is the 89 O-Pee-Chee. This is also in a PSA 10 holder. Side to side centering, definitely off a little bit to the left. Top to bottom looks pretty good. Maybe situated a little bit low, but nothing too bothersome. You really have to look to tell that. Corners and edges, just zipping through it, look really good. Don't really have any issues with this card except the centering is less than perfect, but it's not outside of PSA standards for a gem mint card. So for $26, if you're doing if you're doing the Patrick Roy run, this is a card you need. I believe it's a card to pick up. What do you think of these, Josh?
I'm a huge fan of the 1987 Roy, and right now it's really a steal. The last sale I was on January 1st at $492, and so we're quite a bit below that. I think by now you know me from my kind of random weird thoughts on cards, but what I love about the 87 O-Pee-Chee set is when you look at sort of the exaggerated hockey stick and even the team branding at the bottom of it, it reminds me of like the Flintstones. Like if Hanna-Barbera designed this hockey card, this is what it would look like, because that's like what a stick in the Flintstones would look like. And listen, this is my childhood to a T. I was living it, and so I love the card for that reason. And then on the 89 O-Pee-Chee, I just got to be honest, it might be one of my least favorite designs for a set. I just don't. It kind of represents what 89 was all about design wise, and it wasn't great.
I agree, and I'm looking at it right now, and it almost makes me think, like, why did they have to make the top and bottom blue? Why didn't they just go with this kind of icy effect on all four edges? Would it be nicer that way or not? Do you think you'd prefer it if these were this pattern instead of the blue?
Yeah, and then on the Canadiens logo, in order to get the trademark symbol in there for no reason, they had to completely make it off-centered.
Yeah,
in the circle, which it bugs me because I'm a centering snob. So,
and how did they come up with green for this edge here, but pink over here?
It's
Why
so
green? Yeah, but hey, that's what they did at the time. I agree with you. Not my favorite design, but still, one of those cards you need if you're working on the Patrick Roy run. So, I want to go to a comment here from Sean Red. This is already 15 minutes ago, but talking about the 5.5 Topps O-Pee-Chee, the SGC 5.5, he says, I still think the card is square. I think the sheet was just placed crooked so that the picture is off, but not the card itself. Yeah, Sean, I was trying to figure that out too when looking at that card. And we're talking about, for anyone who's joined us late, we're talking about this card right here. And I'll just open it up one more time. I believe we've closed it. We'll close all those. And yeah, I mean, but here's the thing to Sean Red. I look at this and I think to myself, if you look at the bottom, see the card, it's hard to see, but the right side of the card is sitting up higher in the slab than the left side is. It's hard to see the bottom of the SGC black plastic inlay, but there's a gap from about my mouse here to here that is wider than right here. I can't move the mouse. So the card is actually sitting in the slab a bit tilted up from the right side. So keeping that in mind and zooming out, if you were to pull this corner down so that the bottom edge is sitting flat at a flat degree, at 0 degree incline, then would the right corner here come this way enough such that it's sitting past this corner? That would mean that this thing is diamond cut. So that's hard to tell from this image. You just have to, screen grab this and play with it, play with the tilt, move it around. But the way I'm looking at it, like if I'm zooming in and I'm checking out the gap right here, it's a very small gap between the card and the black inlay. Meanwhile, this one here, yeah, it's diamond cut. Sean Red, I really think it's diamond cut because you can pull this down. This angle, this is a lot wider here down there than it is up here. Telling me this is now, you pull that down, this is going to come even more to the right. Yeah, I really think it's diamond cut, Sean. But you say you see it. How's the top? So do you agree with me? I'm curious if you agree with me because I mean, this is what I like to look at. The top, it's the same thing. It's high, like, look at this, Sean, and everybody else. The gap here is almost no gap, and you come over here, big gap. Like, you go from nothing to like 1.5 millimeters over here. So I think it's like tilted. I think the image is tilted, and I also think it's diamond. I think it's just a mess. I think this card is just a mess overall. So, okay, what's up? What's up, Baz? Good to see you. Welcome to the show. All right, Josh, let's go to the next 3 cards. We're down over here. 2 more from your favorite set, Josh. The 89 O-Pee-Chee. We got the PSA 10 Wayne Gretzky and the second-year Brett Hull. Brett Hull, underloved in the hobby, I think. I love Brett Hull. And this is his second-year card. Not a rare card. It's not rare. It's not scarce. It's abundantly available. So check the pop in a PSA 10 if that's a copy you want, and just know that population on any day could go up by 100 or 200 as soon as someone busts a vending case and sends them in, if it's a well-cut vending case. Same thing goes on the 89 Gretzky. But, these are for people collecting the runs, as is this one here. The 1990 Gretzky base card is another one that, not rare. This is probably a $2 card if it isn't graded. So consider that. Josh, what do you think?
I just put these, I think, like you said, with the 89 Patrick Waugh, these are great player run cards. If you're just looking for a little bit of a variety in your collection and you want a cheap way to get a nice PSA 10 copy, or, hey, we didn't control when we were born, and, one of these years might have hit the sweet spot of your collecting as a kid. And so I can understand a nostalgic pull to one of them too, but not really my cup of tea, like I said.
You didn't control. See, I chose exactly when I was born, so I don't know what you were waiting for there.
I'd love to hear that story because I'm confused as to how that would work.
Sean Red says, if you tap the slab with the card shift, yeah, I think it definitely would, Sean. I do think it would. Cage Lawyer Minion in the house. Welcome to the show. Dave Snyder says that Brett Hull is a cheater. I mean, that one Stanley Cup winning goal, but hey, they reviewed it and they left it as it was. So yeah, against Buffalo. I remember that, Dave. But hey, they reviewed that thing and they let the goal stand. So I'm not saying it was wrong, but he got it in the net as best he could. So ask Hasek. Yeah, for sure. All right. Next row. We had this a couple weeks ago, Josh. We have the Score Canadian Jagr PSA 10 rookie. Another one of those junk wax cards, not rare at all, but it's, I mean, just look at, you have to look at his face here. Like, he is one of the biggest studs in the history of hockey. And there he is at the age of 17 or 18 years old. And what he would become from there is really an amazing thing. But again, a nice, cheap Jagr rookie, probably one of his not his cheapest or least valuable rookie cards, but it's down there. But this is the Canadian version. The word score is in red. If this is in blue, it's the American version. This has French on the back. The American version doesn't. And that's really the only difference. The only difference is between the two. We have a McGillney from the first year of Upper Deck. Dave Snyder in Buffalo will have fond memories of McGillney in his rookie year. And he scored 76 goals in 92-93, tying with Teemu Selanne for the league lead. And just what an amazing year of offense that was. I'm a big McGillney fan and think that he should be in the Hall of Fame, and he will be one day. He will be in the Hall of Fame. If Pierre Turgeon got in this year after 10 years of eligibility, McGillney will get there eventually too. And then finally, Scott Niedermayer, one of the best defensemen of all time in the NHL. This is his 1990 Upper Deck rookie card, not pictured with New Jersey, rather pictured with Team Canada, but still considered his rookie card. Centering does look off on this one to me, which usually in these cards were made really well in 1990. But yeah, there's a bit of a wider border here on the right than there is right there. Top to bottom looks good. This is a card where, it's not rare, it's not scarce. There's plenty of PSA 10s out there, so if you want, hey, pick it up if you want it. Wait for one that you might think is better centered if that's the way you want to go. But again, you're only paying $25, so you can't get many things graded for that price right now. Josh, thoughts?
Well, I know Wayne Gretzky is the greatest hockey player of all time, but in my mind, Jaromir Jagr has the greatest hockey hair of all time. He sits alone on the Mount Rushmore of hockey hair. Not to plug other shows, but he was just on Spit and Chicklets, I think, a week ago, and talked for about an hour and talked a lot about how his really formative years and how he learned how to play the game and grew up on a farm and did 1,000 or 1,500 squats a day. And he was really famous for his workout and work ethic, and really interesting to get, because I haven't heard him very often speak about himself and his career. And so that was really interesting. And I'm a huge Jagr fan. I love the late 90s Jagr inserts. So those are big ones for me. So yeah, I think this is it's like out of a high school yearbook. I think it's kind of so ridiculous. It's funny and I appreciate it for that reason. On the McGillney, so I have a question for you. I know Troy's opinion on this, but is he, in your mind, the very top of the list of veteran players that should be in the Hall of Fame? Is there anyone else you'd put in before him?
I need to see that whole list to be certain. I mean, let's face it, the NHL Hall of Fame has pretty loose standards as it is. So, to say that there's someone else that should get in there ahead of him right now, like I don't know what that list. Can you list off 2 or 3 of the candidates for me by chance?
No, because I panic on the spot. But maybe the chat. This is where the chat could chime in and see if they would nominate anyone before him. And then I'll just move on quickly. I think I really like Scott Niedermayer as a player. I think this is one of the worst rookie cards ever. Like, I feel bad for him.
Yeah,
it's a terrible photo.
He's holding a medal, which is kind of cool.
And does his buddy have a cowboy hat on or something like that?
Yeah. I think that's Stephen Rice. There with him, who was on the team as well. Richie, speaking about the Hall of Fame, Richie Rocket Cards says, I hope McGillney will be inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame soon, and hopefully they invite him to the November Expo. I have to think it's an open invitation. Will he accept? I think is the question, Richie Rocket. But I hope he comes too. McGillney is one of those. You got to hear his whole story. Which I think you guys talk about it on the pod, migrating from Russia and having being his family being issues with it was a tough. It was tough. Guy took some risks. He took some risks. Listen to the Gong Show for the full story on that. But yeah, if anyone in the chat can give us a list of the top 2 or 3 players not in the NHL Hall of Fame yet, we'll compare them to McGillney once we see that list. Moving along, we have the 1991 Upper Deck Peter Forsberg rookie and a PSA 10 holder. 91 was produced even more than 1990 was. I remember I had my shop at this time and we sold cases a day of the people came in and bought boxes and boxes and boxes. There was no shortage of this stuff. If you have an unopened box of this stuff, you also can find the cards were seated in sequence. So you can, unfortunately, you can pack search this stuff. Not that it's really worth it, but you could if you wanted to. But this is Forsberg's rookie card. At least he's pictured on draft day in his Flyers uniform, which he never played for. He was then traded from Philadelphia to the Quebec Nordiques for Eric Lindros and a whole bunch of other things. That trade led to the eventual Colorado Avalanche winning the Stanley Cup. And Eric Lindros might have been that guy that won the cup. If not, maybe Lindros is another. Sorry, that's a different question. But great players who never won a cup. I believe Lindros also is one of those. And we have two PSA graded Ovechkin rookies. We have a 9 and a 10. And without really assessing the conditions, we can let the crowd do that on your own. But it's fun to watch a 9 versus a 10. And, what might be interesting is looking closely at these cards and seeing, is there a real difference? Because there's a $2,175 premium right now for the PSA 10 over the 9. And, okay, I'm going to go back on my word. We're going to open these up quickly and see if we can spot that much of a difference, just from looking at the card. Well, basically corners and edges type of thing. Centering is really hard to gauge. They look the same to me. I see no issues with the top edge or the corners there. Edges look good from this angle, from what we can see. Usually you're going to see issues down the right edge here along the bottom. Looks good to me. Bottom corners look good. So on the front of this card, I don't see any reason why it's not a 10. Let's look at this one now. I mean, what's that there? Oh, it's nothing. I was just looking at this little bright spot there, but I think that's just part of the card, the picture. You come down, the edges look really good on this. Corners look good. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the difference. Maybe it's a centering issue. Not sure what the difference is. One thing I did notice is on this one, you can see to the very right of the word rookies, you've got a sliver of cards of cards showing of the darker blue. Whereas on this one, as we come down, there's nothing there. It's full bleed. Like the S comes right to the edge. So maybe it's a centering issue, or even the bottom right corner seems to have a bit of a white thing right there. So maybe that's the problem and why this is a 9 and not a 10. And if that's worth $2,175 to you, then you definitely want to buy the 10 over the 9. Over to you, Josh.
Okay, I've already changed my mind. The 1991 Upper Deck Peter Forsberg is the worst looking rookie card of all time. And it's the worst picture of Peter. That photographer, if he isn't fired already, and this was 30, 40, needs to be fired. I would be so mad if what do you mean? Couldn't you find a better photo? He just looks like such a dweeb. And he was not a dweeb. He was an amazing, tough, gritty hockey player. But yeah, I don't know what they were thinking. Don't like it. But love Peter Forsberg. So sad about that. And then on the, again, I'm going to say this with all the think of every disclaimer you could think of. I'm not a professional grader, but I look at that PSA 9 Ovechkin and I think, on the right day, that could be a PSA 10. And if you were a gambler and you were into the crack and resub game, I don't know. This is one I might personally think about, but it's a total gamble. You might, crack this one, resub, and it comes back an 8. Who knows? But it's not a lot of difference between the 10 and the 9, although you very well pointed out what it could potentially be.
Could potentially be, yeah. I don't know that the value difference is there, but right now the hobby is gives a lot of value to the PSA 10 label. So, the value must be there, at least here we are in July of 2023. So thank you for that commentary, Josh. Before you go to the next page, want to mention we are about 5 seconds away from the next extended bidding window, where you now have, if there is no bid on a card in a 5-minute window, that card will end. So right now we're going to see it's updating. Some of these cards have likely sold from this first page. Let's let it finish updating. Yeah, we can see the Forsberg has sold for $60. The Ovechkins are still alive. These 3 cards have all sold. The Jagr at 60, the McGillney at 43, the Niedermeyer at 25. The Gretzky these 3 are still alive. These 2, the Lemieux PSA 9 top sold for $930. The second year Patrick Waugh did $312. The PSA 8 tops Lemieux rookie sold for $228. The other 2 are still going. The Gretzkys are still alive here, including the tops. This has sold. The PSA 8 Gretzky with superior eye appeal has sold for $15,000. So nice to see. That's a nice healthy number for that card. The Sportcaster did $1170. Dryden's still alive, and these 3 are still going. So there we have it. Some of the cards have sold, and now we're into the 5-minute bidding windows. All right.
Can I make a quick comment, Jeremy, on the Jagr? $60 for one of the, I don't know, what is he in the top 10 greatest players ever?
Yeah. Jagr. And you could have picked up Jagr and 2 of the best players ever, really. Yeah,
both 60 for $120. You could, it's just sad in some ways that's the way that it all shook out.
The funny thing, though, is that we're saying it's only $120 for these 2 cards. If you were to you could go to a card show. You can go to the Expo, find these cards raw, probably for $1 each. So you know, raw. So it kind of works both ways there, I guess. Before we continue on, we'll go to some comments that came in. Richard Goring calls out Keith Tkachuk as a player, a great player who's not yet in the Hall of Fame. Name says the World Junior Championship set was iconic, and I would say, in my opinion, that it put the tournament on the map. It was nationally televised. Everyone knew those players, and to see them on a card was huge. Yeah, and Name made similar comments last time. This is Rich. I knew that, Rich, by the way. Top eligible players in 2023, not in the Hockey Hall of Fame, are McGillney, Zetterberg, Curtis Joseph, Keith Tkachuk, Jeremy Roenick, Rod Brind'Amour, and Valeri Kamensky. So if we're comparing to McGillney, I would think that Zetterberg is up there with McGillney. And then I love Roenick, so I want to see him in the Hall of Fame. I think Brind'Amour and Cujo are right on the cusp. I think they will get there. Kamensky, I don't know. I mean, maybe mostly for his play in Russia, but he wasn't in the NHL very long, so we'll see. Tough.
But you only get to put one in. So of these guys, who are you putting in? You only get to choose one.
Any one of these guys in without my bias for Roenick, I would put in McGillney. Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Rich, for providing us with that list. Very helpful. All right. Continuing along, everybody. Page 2 now. We've got a 2007 Crosby autograph. This is on a UD, like a priority signing sort of thing, or this is a show card that was given out at the National, the National in 07. So I believe that's a sticker autograph, but let's just have a quick zoom in to make sure. They usually are. Yeah, that's a sticker auto, but it looks great. I mean, listen, I'm not a fan of sticker autos, but this is a very nice autograph. It's held up well. Only 5 copies made, serial numbered, hand numbered there, 3 of 5. So if you're looking to get a complete collection of, early year Crosby autographs, this is definitely one that you would be looking at, and it's going to really run you, I think, a low number compared to an on-card auto. And there we go. It's already jumped up right now. We also have a 2010 SPA Wayne Gretzky autograph. Now, this is not a pack-pulled autograph, and it sold for $180. It's numbered out of 1,999. This was an in-person auto. BAS, Beckett Authentication Services, slabbed it and gave it their authentic review. So that sold for $180. And then we have, look at this. It's at $1,000. Steven Stamkos, 2012 Fleer Retro PMG Green, out of 10, BGS 8.5, none graded higher by BGS. Stamkos, one of the more underloved players in the hobby, I believe, overshadowed by Kucherov and Braden Point for a time being there, Hedman, Vasilevsky. But I love the card. I love we're updating, meaning some additional cards have sold. We're 5 minutes through this first window of the 5-minute windows. Josh, while it's updating, please jump in.
The Crosby card I can appreciate, but I don't know. Doesn't really interest me. On the Gretzky one, that has to be about as cheap of a Gretzky auto as you could possibly get, I would assume.
Sure.
So if you've always wanted a Wayne Gretzky auto, this would probably be a good option. And then the Stammer, I just think that is whether you're a PMG fan or not, what a beautiful card. It's almost perfectly designed. Yeah. Just the image of him and how it fits the card. To me, it's just incredible.
And green and blue, not a color match, but green and blue are beside each other on the rainbow. I mean, and on the actual rainbow, not a card rainbow. They look nice together, green and blue. And yeah, look, I mean, he's in action here. Like he's looking at a pass coming his way so he can take the zone right here, sort of thing. And I love the image too. You know, the corner's got an 8, which is good because of this top right corner here. That's the reason why I would think. You come down the edge, right edge looks good, not perfect, but it's good for you got a little bit of wear over there, but that's typical. Bottom corner, not very, not perfect, obviously. Bottom edge has some issues, which we see. Bottom left corner has some white. Left edge showing a little bit of that PMG edging. You got the white showing on the top left corner, some edging. Again, that's what you want, though. Believe it or not, I believe that's what you want. Any better, and you'd wonder if it was legit. Altered at all. Yeah. So I think I'm with you. I think it's a great copy. Next row, the Johnny Gaudreau PSA 10 Young Gun sold for $84. That's the Columbus effect, I guess. You got a Braden Point rookie PSA 10 Young Gun, did $86. And then we have a Timo Meyer SP Authentic Future Watch Auto, numbered out of 999 in a PSA 10 holder, $162. That's pretty darn cheap for a Future Watch Auto of a player who is a decent player. Didn't he just sign like a big 8-year extension or something for like $8 million a year? Was that him?
Yeah, with New Jersey.
I mean, he's going to be around. He's a good player. I think that's a steal. Now listen, I don't know what comps are, and it might not be a steal when you look at comps, but I think that card is a steal for whoever won it. And I think there's like potential for it because I think he's a good player. So any thoughts on
the team could be very good too next year. So I think that would be a reason why you might be interested in that card. And the other one that really sticks out to me is Braden Point. Didn't he have like 55 goals this year, 52 or something like that? And I know when you look at his last couple of seasons, they've really, really stood out. Last week, Troy and I did our 2022-23 NHL Nobody Cares team. And he was one of the 3 forwards nominated for players that hadn't. I think it was the forwards were Point, Kucherov, and Mikko Rantanen, right? Guys that all had just crazy, amazing seasons. And, proof in the pudding here, nobody cares because, and again, you go back to Point and you look at not only 2022-23, but 2021-22, pretty awesome. He's still in his prime. So I don't know if it's the whole Bermuda Triangle sitting in Florida where it's hard to have relevance, or if there's just so many players to chase maybe on that team, but it blows my mind that there's not more hobby love for him.
Yeah, makes sense to me. We have a 2016 Canvas Young Gun Austin Matthews PSA 10 did $384. We also have a exquisite base card, exquisite retro base out of 99 Connor McDavid in a BGS 9 holder, sold for $144. I like these. I like these exquisite flashbacks. And then you got a limited logos, Cale Makar rookie year, numbered out of 50. It's a BGS 8.5, sold for $1,890. Let's take a look at this. And I want to see I want to see the grade on the autograph because Josh,
they didn't grade it.
They didn't grade the autograph. So the autograph has some bubbling, but I think that that's because his autograph comes up here a little bit higher than it should have, and that's where bubbling occurs. The bottom half looks better, but a little like the pen wasn't pen was kind of nearing the end of its life, it looks like overall, but still his autograph, still on card. I think that's a bit of maroon down there. So you got some silver, you got a 4-color patch here, silver, blue, black, or navy, and maroon. Rookie year Makar, best young defenseman in the NHL, I'd say. What do you think of these 3 cards, Josh, and maybe specifically the Makar?
Yeah, the Makar is, to me, the most interesting card in this auction because, man, the auto being bubbled like that. I mean, limited logos are highly important cards in the hobby and some of the most exclusive cards that you could get. And given it's a rookie year card for Makar, I just have to think that hurts the price on this a little bit. And then you can tell that whoever had it graded, that they didn't choose to have the auto graded, I would guess, because of the bubbling on there. And so when we were looking at this card, I was curious as to, well, is this just this copy of the card, or was bubbling consistent on all 50 copies? Now, I couldn't find all 50 copies of it, but I went through and found 5 or 6 that had sold publicly and had images, and all of them bubbled. And this was actually one of the nicer autographs. So to me, it's a little bit of a shame because I don't think there's any way this card sells for less than $2,000 if the auto doesn't have those bubbles. I just think that scares people away.
And it's at $18.90. So it sold for $18.90. So yeah, there you go. Okay, next row. Actually, Josh, I need you to carry again for a couple minutes. Do you mind?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'll let you speak to these. I'll be right back, everybody.
All right. So the next row, we have a 2019 Ultimate Collection Igor Shesterkin auto out of $299, a BGS 8.5 near mint. Can't see the subgrades on it, but it's a rookie auto for Shesterkin. It sold for $156. I think this past year has been a little bit of weird for Shesterkin. I don't feel like he played all that bad, and he was a Vezina winner the season prior. Maybe didn't have the greatest season or up to his standards, but his hobby star, I think, faded a little bit in the past year. And so it'll be interesting. I'm curious to see if there's a little bit of a rebound this season. Then on the 2019 Upper Deck Employee exclusive, the PMG Purple, the Quinn Hughes, these are out of 250. So a little bit higher print run for PMG. It is a PSA 8, which you're typically not going to do better. I really like the look of this card. It's got almost that Genera hypercolor background. If anyone is in there, was a kid of the early 90s, would probably get that. I think a really cool card. Hughes is he's one of the 3 Hughes brothers now, of course, in the NHL. Very, very good defenseman. Doesn't score a lot of goals. So, I don't know how much investment upside there would be on him, but if you are a Canucks fan or a Hughes collector, then, I think this would be a real cool card to have. I really love the employee exclusives for the PMGs and that purple background that they have on the card. And then the third card here is a 2019 Upper Deck Ice, and it's one of the exquisite inserts. Another 03 tribute. They did that again this year, so I'm kind of wondering if Upper Deck does that every year. I guess I'm not certain on that. It's a card design, of course, that is pretty synonymous with the LeBron James rookie. I think that's what most hobbyists or sports card fans would think. Pretty low serial number out of 25. Again, a pretty decent grade. It looks like a 3-color patch. I see some red at the top. Suzuki, of course, the youngest captain in Montreal history. I think they're building a young, exciting team. And honestly, to talk a little bit about maybe wax and more modern hobby boxes, and this is a card that where I think we look at different sets that come out and where's the value in buying boxes, especially as their prices continue to go up. I think Ice has a lot of value, and particularly in 2021, and I'll give you a couple of reasons for that. The first one is you do have not only the exquisite RPA inserts in there, but you have exquisite autos that are in 2021 ice. And because they did not produce ice in 2020, they also have a bonus pack where you have a couple of 2020 rookie cards. So in 2021 ice, you're going to get the Ice Premiers cards that, of course, are kind of like the main card for ice. You have the chance at exquisite RPAs. We actually pulled in one of our pack opening videos the Alex Newhook, one of the 03 tributes. And then you have that essentially the dual rookie class in 2021 because they didn't produce ice in 2020 and they have that bonus pack. So really good value if anyone likes to hunt wax in 2021. All right, Jeremy, just kind of went through them.
Thank you. I'm just going to probably leave it. I'll make some brief comments. I do love Upper Deck Ultimate Collection as an alternative for an autographed numbered rookie card for a player. So $156 for Shesterkin autographed rookie out of $299. I think that's a nice entry level card for a lot of people right there. The Quinn Hughes employee PMG $100 PSA 8. I think that would have been selling for a lot more a little while ago, but he didn't have the best second year or last year over the year before. And then the Suzuki, I do love these tribute cards out of 25. Nice 3-color patch. Auto seems to be okay. Let's just take a quick look at that auto. I mean, of course, this card is sold, but also, listen, he doesn't have a great auto, but the ink is all there, except for maybe the very beginning. So that's a good sign. But that did sell for $420. These have sold to the Alliance. Connor McDavid Draisaitl out of 25. PSA 9 sold for $168. And the owner of this card actually asked us to look at it. I'm sorry we got to it a little bit late. Same with this was his card as well, the Kaprizov. We got to them a little bit late with these ultra modern stuff. They come in a bit later. But I do like this card. I do like that it's got McDavid on it. It's numbered out of 25. It's the first time we ever had a set or an insert set called Alliance, and it was the gold parallel. So pretty cool. You have the Stutzla Metal Universe, the Skybox. What is PP? What's PP? It's a
Premium Prospects.
Premium. Thank you. The Skybox Premium Prospects Emerald STR. Josh, do you know? STR.
No. I just as the Emerald. Sort of.
It's the Emerald. I love the rubies of this card without the autograph. I'd prefer this card without an auto, but in any event, it's still a pretty nice card in hand with this nice green background that really reflects light. It's almost like the gold vinyl background, but it's green. And then we have this Kaprizov Ultimate Introductions auto out of 15 and a BGS 8.5. I just think this is a nice looking card overall. Sold for $492. Actually, that seems like a strong price to me for this card that's a rookie year auto, numbered out of 15. Nice gold auto. All the ink is there, that's for sure. I like the design. I like the gold foil. I think it's a beautiful card. What were your thoughts on these ones, Josh?
I love the Alliance because it has McDavid and Draisaitl together. And you just don't see many cards that feature multiple players like that. And so to me, that's a real cool card. The Stutzla is, I think, a great investment. He's the guy that I think is really far under the hobby radar. And I've said this a million times. If you look at what he's produced at his age, it's crazy. Where
only 10 copies too.
Only 10 copies too. It looks a lot better. The card zoomed in, it looks better in person, but it's funny when you compare this one to the Kaprizov next to it. And of course, I'm in Minnesota, so I'm a Kaprizov homer. I think this is one of my favorite Kaprizov, the rookies, just the look and feel. I'm a huge sucker for gold auto on black backgrounds. I would put his Future Watch auto black a little bit ahead of this, and this is a total like Wild fan snobby thing because he's wearing the retro jerseys, which has the North Stars colors. Not a lot of us Wild fans love our current color palette and prefer our old green and gold for the North Stars, but I really, really like the look of this card, and I think his market is down. Listen, he missed a good number of games last year. His point per games totals were good, but I think what's really going to affect Kaprizov is I don't know how they're going to put a team around him this year to maximize his talents. And listen, we're in a market that isn't as doesn't have the exposure as like Toronto or of course or other markets, and so I think that's gonna, given his age, and that's gonna challenge his market. But I like seeing the Stützle, which I like him much better from a card from an investment perspective, and the Kaprizov next to each other, because I think that it just highlights how great of a design that Kaprizov is from Ultimate.
Yeah, I'm with you. I agree with what you said. I agree. The Dazzlers, the Kaprizov Dazzlers, Pop 10, PSA 10, the pink Dazzlers. I don't know which is the rarest of the colors. Do you?
Pink.
Pink is the rarest. And this was Larry. Larry's the one that asked us to look at these. Larry apologized we didn't get to them sooner while they were still alive. But he says, love the Dazzler set, not a rehash of the 90s. My neighbor who lives directly across the street from me, coincidentally, and not because of me, coincidentally collects sports cards. He does the Dazzlers as well. He loves the Dazzlers too, which I thought was pretty cool. So thanks, Larry, for being here as always. A little while ago, Jeff McMahon said that Chris Osgood should be in the Hall of Fame, 401 wins and 3 Stanley Cups. And I agree with that only because of those stats. I don't know that he was good enough. I think he was on some amazing teams that almost any goalie could have won the cup with them. He wasn't a bad goalie, but I think he was more of an average goalie that was in the right place at the right time and made some great saves at the right time too. I want to definitely give him that. Name says, yeah, you said that 2 weeks in a row. You're doubling down. Your consistent name. No doubt about that. What is up? Rage is in the house. Tonight's guest and all your chat favorite New England diehard sports fan and friend have arrived. Welcome to the show, Rage. And will that take us to all the cards that we were looking at? But let's just see what is still alive. These have all sold. These are sold. These have all sold now. 1890, 144, 384. Those had sold. 1410 final price on the Stamkos PMG Green. 540 on the Crosby out of 5 autograph from the 2007 National Sports Card Convention. And then back to page 1. Let's see. So the PSA 10 Ovechkin did 38.40 and the 9 did 12.60. So that's a $1,600, $2,600, premium for the difference in grade there, and maybe deserving, maybe not. $25 on the Niedermeyer, 43 on McGillney. We saw the Jagr. Like this, $156. That's not bad for, I don't know what the population is on this card, but it's a population that could continue to grow because there's just so much of this product out there. The next year, the 1990 only did $57. Again, don't know the population. I'm assuming it's pretty high. Patrick Waugh, the Lemieux, we saw these guys. 276 on the PSA 3 box bottom O-Pee-Chee Mario.
That's strong. 276 on a PSA 3.
I think so too. The 83 O-Pee-Chee PSA 10 did 1,830, while the 1984 is still going. It's the only card so far that is still going. The Topps Gretzky did 1,080, the one that makes you a little bit dizzy. We saw these 1,170 on the Sportscaster, $2,880 on the SGC 9 Ken Dryden. That seems low to me, but I might just be misunderstanding or misremembering kind of what this card sells for. But
I think that one's a little tough, Jeremy, because while we were talking about it, I was looking it up in card ladder sales history, and I couldn't find a SGC 9 copy that had sold. There'd been a number of sales for a 9.5, and I believe some sales for 8s, but I don't know if a 9 is just a rare grade with SGC, and so maybe that the fact that there isn't a direct comp.
What about PSA 9? Did you check? Did you see any of those?
Let me check it real quick.
Because to me, PSA SGC 9. I mean, it's to me, it's kind of like the same thing, but you're probably going to pay less for the SGC because of the brand versus the PSA brand and just the hobbies assignment of value to PSA over other grading companies. And maybe SGC takes a bit of a hit because the holder is, bigger, bulkier than all the other holders, doesn't fit well with the rest of your graded cards, and it has that black inlay, which I'm personally not a fan of, but some people love it. So I wonder if that has anything to do with the lower values on SGC because people don't like the slab. I think that's got to be part of it. What'd you find?
Maybe. Yeah, so there is a 71 O-Pee-Chee Dryden PSA 9 that sold in the PWCC vault on the 2nd. So a week ago from today for $5,000 US.
Yeah. That's why I thought this one was low, because I would expect the SGC 9 to sell for as much as the PSA 9, but that's just not where the hobby's at right now. But thanks for that information, Josh. The PSA 6 Gilbert Perreault did $276. The Riley Hearn PSA 5 $432, and the Art Ross PSA 4.5 sold for $2,880. And I love I use this card. I've been doing this thing on Instagram for the last couple. I think I do it 1 week a month now is my plan, Josh. I call it this or that, where I just put up 2 cards and I say, just click this one or that one. Which one do you prefer? And I had this one up against the Joe Malone rookie which is the best rookie in the 1911 C55 set. And the Art Ross won out handily over the Joe Malone, even though it's not a rookie and the Joe Malone is. And I think it's because this is such a nice looking card. And he just looks, I love the picture of him, the artwork around it. So anyway, $2,880, nice, healthy price. But that side to side centering, I think makes it deserving of a nice high number on the auction. So
yeah, I'm looking at sales here, and a PSA 4 sold at the beginning of January for $3,900. So I would say that, based on that somebody made a pretty good buy.
I'd want to see that one too. Just check out the centering on that 4. If it's better centered than this 4.5, then it would explain it. Because I'm like in the vintage premiere auction on PWCC on Thursday that I covered with Adam Gray, there were 2 Bill Russell rookies. Well, there were more than 2, but 2 Bill Russell rookies. One was a PSA 5.5. One was a PSA 6. The PSA 5.5, Josh, sold for almost double what the 6 sold for because it was so much nicer. And that to me is a sign that, savvy collectors, investors, sports card connoisseurs are putting value in the nicer card, not the higher grade. And I think that's a great sign. But did you find anything else to add to that?
Yeah, the PSA 4 was better centering top to bottom. If you're so inclined and care, I did send it to you. So
where did you send it to me?
I emailed it to you.
You emailed it. Okay, I'm going to take a look at it and just have a peek while we're here, just to make that commentary. And let's come back down though to the last card that was alive for us, which was, I believe, this one here. Or no, this one here, which is now sold. The 83 O-Pee-Chee.
I think it was the 84, and it actually sold for more than the 83, which is impressive.
It is, but I think it's also people just prefer the 84 year. I believe it's just it's a year that has that panache to it. Let's see if I can get your email in. Let's refresh here. See if I can get it, and we'll take a look at that Art Ross that sold for double. Rage says, did you check BVG comps? I bet there's a few for sure. What are you talking about, Rage? Which card are you talking about there? I forget maybe some of the Dryden? Okay, I got your email on the Art Ross, the PSA 4 that sold for more than the PSA 4.5 sold for today. And yeah, Josh, I think this 4 is a nicer card. The corners are the problem, but
yeah,
the image and the centering. I'll just spotlight myself for a second, let everybody see on my phone. So this is the card that Josh just sent me, and side to side, the centering is good, not as good, but top to bottom, the centering is awesome.
Yeah,
but the image is, look at that. The image is like awesome. It's awesome. Look at that compared to this here.
Yeah,
I'm gonna zoom in on here, And
the depth of the color is so much better.
It's not even close. This 4 deserved to sell for more than the 4.5 all day long. So I love that that's the result. I love that that the hobby is giving value to cards that are nice, not just cards that are in slabs with high grades on them.
Totally agree.
Of course, the hobby gives value to cards with high grades in them too, but I think we're even giving higher value to lower grades that are nicer. So I don't know. I think that's a good thing. So with that, we've all 40 items that we were watching tonight have come to an end. The bids are coming in fast and furious on the platform overall, and we're now, I believe, in the 1-minute windows for all the other items that you might be watching at auction tonight, everybody. So check those out. Visit PWCCmarketplace.com. It's been on the ticker all night. Rage says, eye appeal, color, and centered copies should definitely command a premium over an opinion grade 100%. And he was talking about the Dryden. Yeah, we didn't check BVG comps there, Rage, but thanks for the suggestion. All right, Josh. Anything else you'd like to mention? Any other questions from the chat? Please put them in there as soon as you can, because we are going to wrap this up here in just about a minute or so. Over to you, Josh.
Another cool auction. There's always great cards to look at. I learned something every time we have a show, and I like to learn. So I'm appreciative for that, and just want to thank everyone for taking the time to join tonight.
Well said. Thank you to you, Josh. Thank you to the chat, as always, for joining tonight. Hopefully some of you won some great cards. Hopefully you're happy if you were selling any great cards here on the PWCC Marketplace. And that's it. It's Sunday night, everybody. So rest up. Have a great week ahead. We'll see you again soon on the channel. And with that, this episode of the PWCC Weekly Hockey Auction live watch party in extended bidding with Josh Madigan of the Hockey Cards Gong Show is